Council, just thank you for the opportunity to bring awareness to the attacks that took place here on September 15th of this year. My name is Yesenia Tavares. I'm the Director of Communications. Please feel free to reach out to me after the press conference should you have any additional questions. At this moment, I'm going to go ahead and introduce to the podium Councilmember at Large James Spadola.
Thank you, everybody. I appreciate the media's attendance and their attention to this awful incident. I want to thank some folks for coming. First, we have Philadelphia City Councilwoman Helen Gym, my colleague on council, Maria Cabrera, and the Newcastle County Executive's Office is represented by Chief of Staff, Andrea Miller. And we have the son of the victim, Steve Suh, as well as his mother is with us today. So, you know, people have been asking me, what's the point of this? Why are we doing this? It's really to show respect to a business owner of nearly 40 years in the city. With such an awful incident like this, it's just something that we're all processing. For those who have never been in the store, Mr. Suh would buzz everybody in individually. And so when this incident started, Mr. Suh looked at the criminal and he trusted him. He said, I think you look like a decent individual. I'm going to let you in to be a customer. He comes in and the criminal violates that trust in the most heinous and incalculable of ways that makes it hard to fathom how somebody could do that to a human being. And unfortunately, this was not his first run-in with the law. Just a quick search showed this wasn't his second chance. It was at least his fifth chance, with previous charges for guns and violence. But the criminal justice system failed us again. And this time, I'm thankful to the Wilmington Police Department for making the quick arrest. And hopefully, we will get justice for society, and most importantly for the Suh family, when the proceedings against this individual proceed. Before I call up the next speaker, I do want to call attention to the GoFundMe that the family has started to raise funds as they process the trauma of the incident. So I would encourage all who are here, including my elected officials, please support, please share it on Facebook. And with that, I would like to call up my colleague on council, Councilwoman Maria Cabrera.
Thank you so much for everyone that came here today to bring attention to this, and to my colleague, who is a former public safety official, police officer in Newark, James Spadola. October is National Crime Prevention Month, and to join in the national efforts of trying to bring awareness and making the commitment to the national slogan, "Take a bite out of crime," this press conference will bring awareness to the recent attacks on the owner of Solid Gold Jewelers. On September 15th, 2022, the 68-year-old owner of Solid Gold Jewelers was brutally attacked during a mid-morning robbery that led him to being hospitalized in the intensive care unit and ultimately moved into a rehab hospital where he now has to relearn how to walk and talk. But all the physical rehab is not going to rehab the mental and the physical and the emotional trauma that has been experienced by this family and by the city and by the neighboring businesses here. Council sees community safety as a basic human right and an important aspect of the quality of life for individuals living and working in the Wilmington communities. Throughout the world, citizens in areas plagued by crime and violence are uniting to work with local government officials and to develop ongoing partnerships with public safety officials, which includes both the Wilmington Police and Downtown Visions, which are present here today. Steve Suh, the son of the owner that was pistol whipped and struck more than a dozen times, says that his family is shaken by the robbery. His father has owned Solid Gold Jewelries for 35 years and has kept his location in downtown Wilmington. When we've seen right here on 9th Street, so many businesses have taken flight and have moved out, they have stayed here, along with the cobbler, my good friend, where I come here often, I shop here often. This is where I bring my shoes. The thought that there is a cobbler still exists in Wilmington, and to be here and to see the business and to see it flourish. These are the things we want to celebrate, not to be here speaking of the harm that was brought to one of our business owners. And we're so thankful that he is alive, but the trauma is still there. We don't know what's going to happen with the business, and as Councilman Spadola said, I hope that everyone does contribute to the GoFund account. I made my contribution where I saw it, because we need to support this family and help them along the way. A lot of business owners don't have the protections that many in private or in public life do. The National Crime Prevention Council designated October as Crime Prevention Month in 1984 through a presidential proclamation. Since then, the NCPC has worked with government agencies, law enforcement, schools, businesses, and civic groups to spread the word about crime prevention and personal safety. So I really do hope that we band together, not just for this business, but all businesses. And as a business owner, I owned a small little cafe in the Cool Springs neighborhood. So I can really put myself in the shoes of what it is when you are making that money and living, month to month to bring in and support your family. Not just the harm, the physical harm that was brought to this family, but the fact that a lot of the inventory that was taken, the investments that they have made. So I really do hope that as a community we band together and that we do a better job of communicating when it comes to getting the word out when these things do occur, because that is something that we will be looking into, the dissipation of the information. But now, most importantly, that we support this family, that we come together and we tighten up on helping each other, our neighbors, to make sure that we prevent this from happening again. And as Councilman Spadola alluded, why do we have the same offenders being released time and time again to commit the same crimes? It's not like they were rehabilitated. And this was definitely very preventable. If our judicial system, because that is what we need to fight, that our judicial system stands and keeps the people that are committing these crimes repeatedly in our streets, not just what happened here, but the multiple shootings that we have in Wilmington, they need to be behind bars and they need to stay there. We can't keep bailing people out and allowing them to come out and continue to commit these crimes. Thank you, and thank you, Councilman Spadola, for bringing this together. And my heartfelt sympathies to you and prayers to your father, because I know he will recuperate, because I can see that you're a strong family and you are not alone. We stand with you.
Next, I'd like to call Newcastle County Executive Chief of Staff, Andrea Almond. And if I could also ask the family and supporters to, the fellow speakers, would you please join us up here?
Good morning, everyone. On behalf of County Executive Matt Meyer, who couldn't be here with us this morning, we stand together with our Wilmington City Council partners and with the Suh family in condemning this heinous act. Newcastle County, we have no tolerance for violence against anyone, and we stand with our brothers and sisters in the Asian American and Pacific Islander community. I'm joined this morning by Charani Patibanda, who's the Director of Economic Development for Newcastle County and knows well the challenges that small business owners have experienced, especially over the last couple of challenging years. Charani?
Good morning. Charani Patibanda, Economic Development Director with Newcastle County. I just want to thank our Wilmington City Council members for hosting this event and to raise awareness about this deplorable action. The Suh family has been in business for decades in this location and has overcome so much, whether it was other threats to safety or COVID, which really impacted so many businesses, as the councilwoman said, but they stuck through it all and they are resilient and they have overcome so many challenges. And our small business owners deserve to be safe when conducting their business, and this act of violence and robbery just cannot be tolerated because our economy depends so much on small businesses like this one. And we stand with you, with the family, and we thank you for supporting your father, and we stand with you, and we want to make sure that you are receiving whatever you can, whatever we can rather, to help with recovery. And if your father chooses to retire, we support that, but we want to make sure that all small business owners are protected when they do their jobs. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to call Philadelphia City Council Member Helen Gym.
Violence anywhere impacts people everywhere. And because of that, I want to thank Councilman Spadola, Council Member Cabrera. It's why I am here from Philadelphia in support of the Saw family. I'm City Council Member Helen Gym, Council Member at Large in the City of Philadelphia, here to express support and solidarity with the Saw family. They are Korean immigrants. They have been here at this location for 17 years, I think at another location for almost 2 decades, Mrs. Saw. We honor them, we thank them for their investment in this city, and particularly on this street and this corridor, which is so clearly one that's dedicated to small businesses. I want to thank Downtown Visions for their support and investment in reaching out to small businesses everywhere. Small businesses are the heart of any city. They are the key to any type of economic prosperity for cities. And it was important that all the businesses along here, but especially the Saw family, know that people everywhere from across the state are in support, are deploring what happened, thank the Wilmington Police Department for their swift actions, and are deeply invested in restoration and healing for families, for individuals, and especially for communities. So thank you very much.
Next, I'd like to call up the family, led by Stephen Suh, the son. Please, you say whatever you want or nothing at all, man.
Thank you.
Okay?
Appreciate it. All right. Thank you, Councilman Spadola, for personally reaching out and caring deeply enough to organize the press conference. Thank you, media, for attending. Didn't expect all of you guys to come, but I really appreciate you, expressing concern on the matter. Thank you to the honorable speakers for attending and expressing your concern for my father as well. It really means a lot to our family. I know my father will be proud when he sees the important individuals fighting for justice alongside us. On September 15th, starting at 9:52 a.m., right behind us, my father experienced not just a robbery, but a horrific assault that changed his life and our family forever. The perpetrator stomped on my father's head during the course of 25 minutes, delivering his last blows with the hammer. Through the grace of God, my father was able to call 911 and come away from this near deadly encounter alive. However, he is no longer the same. The person who I respect and I admire the most is now handicapped, and his cognitive abilities are far below normal. Calvin Ushery Jr. deserves the maximum. What you have seen in the media just scratches the surface of what happened to my father. We feel that Calvin Ushery Jr. intended to murder my father by repeatedly bashing him in the head with a hammer. Calvin Ushery Jr. has a lengthy criminal past and should not be on the streets where he can terrorize elderly business owners ever again. We don't want any other family to experience what we are going through. My brother couldn't sleep for 5 days straight after the robbery. He's a veteran of Iraq and Afghanistan, and the robbery has triggered his PTSD. He's not here today. He's sick. He had to watch the horrific video himself while I was away internationally to ensure the police had the video in their hands as soon as possible. My mother has barely enough strength to make it through the day because she is so weighed down with worry. We understand that this case has gone beyond ourselves, and we hope that the world will see the consequences behind these types of crimes against elderly Asian parents when they consider these types of actions. We thank the world for watching and listening. I'm afraid that this case would have been under wraps if, as a family, we did not decide to make videos public and make our voices heard. It took 11 silent, frustrating days before we decided to take matters into our own hands. We appreciate the work of the Wilmington Police Department for putting this evil criminal behind bars. But we are having trouble understanding why the severity of the crime seems to have been papered over. Criminal mischief. How does beating someone who is unconscious with a hammer considered criminal mischief? How is stomping on someone's head repeatedly considered criminal mischief? How could it be anything else but felony assault or even attempted murder? This case was initially ignored, and partially because of that, we have only recovered 10 to 15% of the inventory. We hope that the local prosecutors will assess the charges seriously and bring forward more sensible charges that justify the nature of this crime. Lastly, as a family, we will not let our guard down until justice is done. As my father would tell us in Korean, 끝까지 해. Which means, do it to the end. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. That concludes our conference. I'm going to turn it over to Yesenia for any follow-up questions.
Yes, thank you so much for attending. Please be respectful of the family. Steve is here on behalf of them, but just be respectful at this time.
Can I answer questions here or one-on-one? Can we ask questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Would you mind telling me about your father personally, his life story, where he came from, and how he got to make such an impact in this community?
My father's an immigrant from Korea, and he was a very poor guy. Thankfully, he met my mother, who was already in the U.S., and basically she was my father's ticket to come to America. And my father was serving in the army in Korea, part of a group called Katusa, which was basically a joint alliance between the American Army and the Korean Army, and that's where he learned his English, and that's where he built his confidence to have the American dream to come to America. And when I reflect on that, he first started as a supermarket store clerk, or as more of a stock boy, putting inventory on shelves. I think at the time it was called IGA Supermarket, if you ever heard of that supermarket chain before. And then he rose up the ranks and became manager of a supermarket, and that's where he built confidence to be a small business owner. Every immigrant's dream. And that's where he started his own grocery store for about a good 5 to 6 years, working his butt off from like waking up at 5 a.m. in the morning, closing shop probably around 9 or 10. Maybe my mom confirmed that. But I just remember my dad just working so hard, and me even going to the store because as a baby, sorry, I don't know, there's a phone call here. It's okay, of course. So then, yeah, after about 5 years, I remember when I was about 5, this is when my father decided to start Solid Gold Jewelers. He used to be on on Market Street over there for I guess about a good 17 years, and then he decided to start this business or relocate, and just continue to be a part of the community.
You must be so proud of him.
I am. I can't tell you enough. I know a lot of my friends are immigrant families, and to see how much my father has done. He's not just a business guy. He's an elder in the church. He always thinks about the community. He tells me about, he wants to come, he wants to be here right now. I'll tell you that right now. He wants to open this store right now. But, why does he do it? It's not because he wants to make money. It's because he cares about his customers. He cares about the community that he's serving. He wants to make sure that they get their jewelry. He wants to make sure they get the repairs and all the layaways and things like that. Right? That's the kind of person that he is. It's crazy, that's who my dad is. He's a resilient father. He's a guy that like I said, I respect him the absolute most. I come to him for advice for everything, to this day. And now, I don't really have that right now.
And can you just lay out as broadly as you can his recovery into the future, what he'll need? Is there just a long list?
I won't speak in terms of the duration of it, just for confidentiality and security purposes, but he is in rehab right now. He's recovering well. It's really been a joy to see him being better and better every day. But I'll just tell you right now, he's far from the normal, father that I know.
Steve, you told me when I talked to you last week, you said you don't want him ever to open the business again. You still feeling that way, or?
I have a lot of thoughts. My dad, I feel like he left a legacy here. He would see other jewelry business owners go out of business and give up. He felt like he just had to continue going, right? Good guys he had, as in Korean, do it to the end. Just kept on going. And when I think about that, I reflect. What should we do about the business? So I can't immediately answer that at this time.
Steve, did the family work here, or?
Yes, my brother would help out occasionally. My mom would also, help out. Even when we were younger as kids, my brother and I remember maybe starting from the age of 12 or 13, would help out when it was very busy during Christmas time, even on Saturdays sometimes. So it's a family business for sure.
Are you hearing anything from police and Attorney General on additional charges?
We do know that an Attorney General has been assigned, or prosecutors have been assigned. However, as far as extra charges or any other information, we don't have that at this time.
What made you want to come forward after thinking about it for so long? Like, how hard of a decision was that to bring out the video and make this what it is today?
I mean, it was just very frustrating for us, right? We didn't feel like the right charges were being made, and as a family, going through 11 days, knowing the severity of this incident ourselves. When the looting incident happened about 18 months ago, if you guys are not aware, there was coverage. Unfortunately, for something that's even more severe, was put under wraps, no talk. I don't understand why. I understand that the city is trying to do some gentrification work, but good news or bad needs to be communicated for the safety of the people in the community, and just for their own protection. Honestly, like right now, it's definitely a lot to soak in. And my father, for the first time yesterday, called me with his own power on the phone yesterday, being conscious somewhat. Called me twice this morning, and it means a lot to me right now. And in a way, I know that he's doing that, because maybe he feels a little bit lonely, but it's also just his conscious state, knowing the father that he is. He's a very respectful kind of guy. He doesn't want to share his emotions too much, but he's doing that now because he understands how important family is to him, and it's just really appreciate that, and that's what makes me happy right now.
Do you think the suspect should be charged with attempted murder?
Absolutely, I mentioned that. Thank you.
City council members, why wait 3 weeks after the incident to have a press conference, or it's been 1 week since the video was on?
Sorry, can you repeat that question?
This is for the city councilors, but why wait 3 weeks afterwards to have this press conference?
So I found out about it last week, the day of Rashima Dixon's funeral, and still called Steve right away and said, "Do you want to do a press conference?" He said yes. I knew WITN would be tied up, so we scheduled it. Basically, as soon as I found out about it, we essentially scheduled it. So.
Are you surprised that police are here? And police, there have been a few cases during the golf tournament. There was a WSFS woman who was murdered. You call it wide straight bullet and killed. Do you think they just need to be more forthcoming and do press conferences like Philly does more often when this stuff happens, and sort of give everybody all the facts as opposed to...
In terms of the police department's involvement with this, the most important thing in my mind is that they arrested the criminal who shouldn't have been on the streets in the first place. So in terms of the nuances of that, that's a question for the police department to answer. So yeah, I'm just thankful the guy's off the streets right now. So.
How in the world do you prevent something? Like, how do you protect yourself? Lifelong business. We have to teach to be kind to each other. Like you mentioned, trust that customer. What in the world can we do at this point, where it seems like a lot of crimes are being committed without a why? Not as if they need one, but they seem more and more senseless. What can people do?
Sure. So thankfully, serious crimes in Wilmington are on the decline, and you can see that if you pull up the latest CompStat report. I think it comes back to a lot of what myself and Councilmember Cabrera were saying, was our criminal justice system needs to meet people where they are. And when someone shows a propensity to commit violence with weapons, we need to believe them. And we need to deal with them seriously so they're not back out on the streets to do it again.
Have there been hate crime charges, or should there be?
That's definitely, if I put on my former law enforcement hat, I can tell you for the prosecutors to prove the elements of a hate crime existed, it's tough to do unless the criminal during the act of the crime was muttering anti-person sentiment, in this case anti-Asian sentiment. So it would be tough to do. He was charged with robbery first, which is a Class A felony, and along with a felony possession, committing a crime with possession of a firearm, as well as person prohibited, because he shouldn't have been carrying a firearm by a deadly weapon, in the first place.
The prosecutor told me last week that would include all the other because I said, well, why not attempted murder, why not this? And you said, under the statute, that would be all sort of included. Is that how your law enforcement?
So not the attempted murder. That would step it up a notch. But in terms of the assault is a lesser included of robbery first. For the prosecutors to prove that he had the intent, honestly, if you watch the video, yes. But for the prosecutors to prove that he had the intent, which would have to be proven, that's for the AG's office to decide. I would love to see that. I would love to see that. So, and we're going to wrap it up after Councilmember Cabrera's comments.
I'm going to answer a few of the questions. So, number one, it does cause me concern as a council member, and that is something that I know that Councilmember Spadola and I will be respectful and are grateful to the Wilmington Police Department. But yes, we have questions as to why it was kept under wraps, why I also found out by reading the article in the newspaper. Now, I might be guilty that I'm not reading the police reports coming through because they do send us information, but we found out, I guess, when everybody else found out. And in terms of what can we do to address these senseless crimes, because we see more and more of them happening, one of the initiatives I would like to work on, and I was planning this in the neighborhoods, but now this brings light to the businesses, and working with Mike Majidi, former Wilmington police officer, and Downtown Visions in our police department, is crime prevention through environmental design. What things can we put in place and really educate our business owners to be more careful? What kind of protections can they have in place so they could call for help closer, the same way that I want to do that in communities? And I think that's something that we can do proactively, not saying that it's going to stop it from happening, because we're not in the minds of these people. But as Councilmember Spadola said, we are grateful to see a decline. That doesn't make the Sioux family feel any better here today, but there is a decline, and we hope that as we strengthen these efforts, we will not have incidents like this continue to occur. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.